Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de how the Republican Party's ideals have now all but disappeared under the personality cult of one giant orange douche, and why I don't consider Trumpism conservatism in any sense of that word. Heyo, XenPuck here. So, I can't say that I'm a die-hard liberal or conservative, actually. Usually I'd call myself a libertarian, because it's mostly about giving people choices in how they want to live their social lives, but being more fiscally stingy when it comes to government spending, right? But in the last few election cycles here in the good old US of A, I find myself just mostly laughing at the absurdity of what we are choosing between, right? Ostensibly, we've got liberals as represented by Democrats and conservatives by Republicans, but I realized very recently that at least the Republican candidates' actual concerns are very, very far from what I consider or understand conservatism to be. So much so that I figured I'd organize my thoughts and rant about it for a little bit. So hey, here's my 2 cents or whatever, okay? But first, we gotta kind of define what republicanism used to be, or conservatism, right? This used to be the party of small government, aka less government handouts, law and order, aka adherence to the letter of the laws, most commonly taken to mean the Constitution of the United States of America, and American exceptionalism, aka projecting American dominance on the international stage, right? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that these positions are good or bad, right? Just that they are generally considered the norms for conservatism in the modern era, right? So my spiel will be simple, comparing these as long-established parameters versus what the orange douche has actually accomplished or signaled would be his intentions, okay? Anyway, if you enjoy some random rants from a guy who clearly has no production skills whatsoever, like, subscribe, share, comment, or whatever, okay? I'll be great regardless, because, I just do these for funsies. Hit that bell icon. Yeah. I hope YouTube watchers know where that is. There will be no cool graphics whatsoever, because I'm not that into video making. Oh boy. Okay, so let's start with small government, right? The whole point of this is the whole, balance the budget thing, because conservatism used to say, hey, let's run the government like a household, right? We personally wouldn't want to carry a huge amount of debt, so surely we wouldn't want the American government to do that exact same thing, right? Nice idea, but one that's been absolutely false under the previous few Republican presidents at this point. That's not actually exclusively the orange douche's problem, okay? I mean, President Clinton and President Obama both left the United States with surpluses, okay, budget surpluses, and somehow their Republican successors has run up the tab immediately afterwards, usually due to their ridiculous tax cuts that help no one but rich people. Okay, this is doubly ironic since the orange douche purports to be a populist. Okay, he's always talking about how he loves his crowd due to how lowly educated they are. Well, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Since those same people can't figure out why they're not actually benefiting from Trump's idiotic policies. A more specific example of how Republicans under Trump has failed spectacularly is that whole repeal Obamacare business. Does anyone remember that? I mean, that whole decade-long hate for the Affordable Care Act led up to what? A Republican president with a Republican Senate and a Republican House. And the target being a shining example of supposedly large government excess. And yet, what happened to that, right? A big fat nothing, okay? No repeal, because there was no real replacement plan on the table from the Republican side, okay? It turns out most people do like having health insurance of some kind anyway, okay? Sure, Obamacare is absolutely not perfect. It's not right now. But it sure as heck is better than nothing at all. And it persisted through one full term of the orange douche's presidency already. So, where's that return to smaller government? Just didn't happen, right? Now, next up, law and order. See, this one you think it is very easy, right? After all, Republicans and conservatives were so successful at making themselves the party that's tough on crime that even Democratic candidates such as Bill Clinton had to co-opt some of those stances just to appear to be more of a centrist back in the 90s. But that's ancient history at this point because, our ex-orange douche of a president literally has tried to overthrow his giant loss in the election in 2020. I mean, in this case, he is not only not a conservative, he is basically edging towards full fascism, right? Since his totally baseless election denial, the whole Republican Party now are in locksteps of basically saying they're going to refuse to go along with future election results. Okay, so let's be clear. Their stance currently is this, okay? If Orange Douche wins in 2024, election is legitimate. If Orange Douche loses, then this election is illegitimate. How does that make any sense to anyone with half of a brain? I mean, why have an election at all if so many people have lost faith in the actual process, right? This is the danger of a cult of personality rather than a political philosophy, okay? The douche's supporters aren't actually arguing with facts, but simply with the feeling that they're wrong somehow, but only when the results don't favor them. After all, if there were some giant conspiracy for the Democrats to steal the presidency in 2020, then why didn't they steal, the rest of the election for a massive majority of the Senate or the House as well, right? Let's think about it like this, in other words, right? If one winner from that election is to be doubted, in this case the presidency, then shouldn't every winner from that same election also be doubted, regardless of party, right? Curious, I have never heard any Republicans who won in 2020 question the veracity of their own results. And finally, America is the dominant superpower in the world, right? Patriotism, American exceptionalism, this used to be a rallying cry for Republicans and conservatives, right? That is, once again, until the orange douche has taken over. Well, what has he done? He keeps undermining NATO. He keeps kissing the butt of people like Putin. To the effect that I have to assume that guy has something on Trump, okay? Because you've never seen anybody that Trump is as differential towards as he is towards Putin, okay? I don't know, maybe it's just because he admires how Putin can stay in power. But I also have a more, again, specific example, right? I gotta point out how our Mr. Ex-President Orange Juice would actually defer to tabloid news over the recommendations of his own American intelligence community. I mean, this is common knowledge. Please go Google it if you don't believe me. It sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not. I find this fact incredibly, incredibly sad and confusing, okay? Trump got to be the president of the United States, ostensibly the most powerful figure in the free world, and he willfully chooses to ignore the very, very incredibly privileged information that literally only he could get, okay? This is the result of an intelligence apparatus that has the highest budget on the planet. So basically, literally the best information money can buy, okay? And this moron of a douche chooses to believe instead information from unverified conspiratorial websites that are basically the digital equivalent of supermarket tabloids, okay? Bad input equals bad output. And the inputs he believes in are the same inputs that I believe he's been trusting all his life, right? So I guess that kind of makes sense. I mean, if he can't trust the incredible resources the American intelligence community has put together, why would anyone think that he could make a remotely reasonable decision about the complex world that we actually live in? Like, it's absurd, okay? So, in conclusion, Trumpism has no semblance anymore to most aspects of conservatism that I can think of. I mean, I haven't even gotten to how conservatism used to, pick candidates based on quote-unquote family values, okay? I mean, instead now they pick someone who doesn't even really try to deny his many affairs and only contests in court as to how those ladies were paid to shut their mouth. I mean, If I were a Republican, I mean an actual, real conservative, rather than sycophantic, populist suck-up in the cult of the orange douche, then first I'd be ashamed of how easily the Republican Party has been co-opted in the past half a decade or so, and then maybe just start a new party at this point, one, that actually has ideals worth fighting for, instead of a giant orange douche who's definitely going to expire soon enough under the weight of, his chalky, fake-looking makeup alone. Okay? That's my spiel. Yell at me in the comments. Won't bother me, because I'm just some random dude, okay? You won't hurt my feelings. Cheers. I'll approach it.